partnered with the lead for the Best Start initiative here at Oxford Kids. The initiative is thanks to First Five LA. I'm also one of six ECE Voices lead advocates. ECE Voices is a advocacy network through Every Child California. So we're really excited that ECE Voices has sponsored our event. More importantly, that we're able to connect childcare providers to ECE Voices. I think that when we join forces, our voice is a lot more stronger. And I'd like to welcome you all to our first collaborative advocacy event here in this beautiful high desert, the Antelope Valley. I am going to hand the mic over to Dr. Deshane Youssef. I call her Day. Dr. Deshane Youssef, and she will be guiding us through today's presentation.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So everybody, you guys don't have to try to pronounce, even though she did very well on my name. This is why I go by Day, because it's pronounced visual name. And that's, you got that whole rule. Then you don't have to do all of that. So welcome today. We are going to have so much fun, so much information, so much networking, and so much connection for our Antelope Valley today. I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm excited. I'm excited. So we do have vendors in the back. We have Regional Center. We have AVPH. We have Best Start. We have ECE Voices, and we want to thank them today for doing this meet and greet. Yes. And we have SLEA Therapy. And we want to thank our translators as well for being here, right? So we're going to get started. See, I need my glasses to see you all, but I can't use my glasses to read. So good morning to you again. Thank you for joining us today. It is truly an honor to welcome our esteemed local and state representatives, our incredible child care providers. Woo! And all of you who are dedicated to strengthening early child care and education in our community. Here with us today, and if you would just raise your hand so that people know who you are as I call your name. Here with us today is Los Angeles County Superintendent Catherine Barger, Charles Bostwick. He is our senior field deputy. If you do not know him, you want to get to know him. Chuck is awesome. Assemblymember Tom Lackey is going to be here, but in the meantime, we have his district director, Miss Anna Zarley. Where's she at? There she is. Anna's been around a long time, and she knows this Antelope Valley well. So she's a good contact to have. The next, I know we're expecting Tom Marino from Senator Valadares' office. He will be here around 10 o'clock as well. Child care providers. Who are our child care providers here? Woo! Raise them high and proud. That's right. You all are taking care of our babies. Child care providers are a backbone of our workforce, caring for our youngest residents while enabling. I'm going to slow down. I'm sorry. I hear her trying to keep up with me. Okay. Caring for our youngest residents while enabling families to work and thrive. We recognize the unique challenges you face. And we want to know that here in Antelope Valley, you are not alone. We are a community that stands with you, advocates for you, and believes in building a child care system that provides high quality care and education for every child. Today is about coming together, uniting. We hear that a lot in Antelope Valley, but we don't necessarily do it a lot in Antelope Valley. Listening and sharing and working towards solutions, because we all know the problems. So we're working towards solutions that uplift the entire child care community. So let's connect, collaborate, and take a meaningful step towards a stronger early care and education system. I want to again thank you all for being here. You are truly the backbone, because without you, our next generation is lost, right? And we need those ones that actually care about the children. It's not a job, it's a career, it's a profession, and it's a necessity that we have. I would like to take a moment to go ahead and introduce our first presenter here. This young man is, in my opinion, quite phenomenal. And if I could just get this to open. Okay, there we go. Mr. David De La Cruz is the community-based systems manager. I call him the data guy at all at all for kids. David is deeply committed to empowering communities through data-driven advocacy and has been instrumental in developing the Best Start and Evaluation Committee. Alongside parents and residents in the Antelope Valley, his dedication to strengthen community for voices through data equips local leaders, that's you folks that's with us, with the tools to drive systematic changes and create a lasting impact. Please join us in welcoming Mr. David De La Cruz as he presents his data.
Thank you, Dr. Day. I was blushing back there. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But anyways, yes. So as Dr. Day was saying, I am the place-based systems manager here at All for Kids Best Start, and it's kind of just a fancy title to say I'm the data analyst. I act as the evaluator here at Best Start that guides the core evaluation activities that we do, that guides the priorities that we have, our outcomes as well, and also help facilitate and lead discussions surrounding data, new information, our community members' testimonies and stories, and on top of that, leading our data committee as well. So thank you guys for joining us today. I'm going to be presenting the Antelope Valley State of Childcare for Best Start Region 5. Now to preface, this data is going to be what is the baseline of primary sources that we utilize in our evaluation activities here in the Antelope Valley for Region 5. So what I'm going to be presenting is going to be those primary sources that tie directly to the Antelope Valley. Usually when we have data that's available to LA County, it's very difficult to disaggregate that data towards Lancaster, Palmdale, Northern LA County. So these sources that we utilize are primary sources that are derived from our community members' experiences, researchers and data analysts that have come here and worked with Best Start and All for Kids to gain a bigger insight picture on the state of childcare in the Antelope Valley. And with that mentioned, we'll start with the overview. Now, as mentioned, this is going to highlight the current state of childcare access and availability in the Antelope Valley. We're going to be sharing data that's informing Best Start Region 5's project initiatives and advocating for policy changes and community support to improve childcare outcomes. And now, hopefully, with my presentation, you'll come out with more questions than answers. And that's going to be hopefully clarified a little bit more with our presentation from James Moses from Child Care Resource Center after me. So we'll go ahead and get started. Now, to give a little bit of context, a little bit of backdrop on what Best Start's doing in regards to our state of childcare in the Antelope Valley, is that we're committed to ensuring that every child in the AV has access to quality care and early education. And now what happens with that is that we conduct projects, we conduct a lot of community advocacy efforts to reach that goal. We're an initiative that's focused primarily on equipping our community members and our local stakeholders with the tools that they need to properly advocate for childcare and 0 to 5 families in our community. So Something that gives a little bit more context on these projects is goal 3 of our community change agenda, which outlines that we focus on expanding quality childcare, increasing accessibility, and strengthening the childcare workforce. Now, this work aligns with our regional partners, parents, and providers to advocate for sustainable improvements in the early childcare system. I never have Angie. That's yeah. So if you guys don't know Gloria, Gloria is our community organizer, and that is her lovely daughter. Yeah, our next facility. So before diving in, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about our primary sources within the Antelope Valley, but Los Angeles County has tons of data, and that data it gets disaggregated usually by us when we have to, when we want to keep track of state and county data. And we have that all compiled in this. If you guys want to see that QR code, if that's scanned, do you mind if we can hide that toolbar a little bit? It's all right. These resources will be shared now.
Yeah, it works.
So if you guys want to take a moment to take a screenshot of that, we've compiled a literature review that compiles all of our sources, all of the state of childcare resources that we have. As you'll see, there's a state of childcare, babies and toddlers in LA County, prioritizing high quality early care, first 5 LA publications, and further topics considering the effects of universal pre-K on private childcare providers, childcare workers, and workforce development. We have demographics data in regards to our children in LA County, and so much more. So that right there is our literature review that provides the compilation of our secondary sources of data here in the state and county level. Now, if we may go back, data sources that shape our work. This is the first one that I want to introduce. So we'll go to the next one. Here's kind of what we're going to be forwarding here. We're going to be talking about our State of the Child report. If you guys have not read the State of the Child report, I highly recommend that you do so. It was conducted by Catalyst California, commissioned by Best Start and then Children's Bureau, All for Kids, in which we got a very insightful report on the state of the child here in the Antelope Valley. And then it's utilized community members' experiences first and foremost, which when you look at statistics and you look at numbers, it doesn't really mean all that much until you attach those actual community testimonies. When you see the actual work that's happening, when you see that people are trying to change outcomes, they have attached that within our State of the Child report. So I highly recommend the read. Again, all the resources that I'm going to be providing have a QR code that you can access on, and of course the resources will be shared. But so on top of the State of the Child report, we have our data maps. So this is a visual data tool that we have, and I believe that we had our director, Sylvia Scott, actually printing those. So you guys have access to those.
If you go to the start table, we have the data maps all on education and childcare.
Thank you. So those are going to be available as well. And these are in regards to education. Specifically, what we're going to be talking about is the childcare piece. So on top of that, we have our childcare deserts mapping. Now, CCRC plays a huge role in this through their evaluation and research. And so this desert mapping was conducted in, I believe, 2021. And it's been relevant ever since because we don't consider it to have changed all that much. We utilize this desert mapping to recognize how the UAV is affected as a childcare desert. And so we'll go into that with a little bit further detail further on. And on top of that, we'll close it off with conversations with our childcare providers at our latest regional meeting. We actually had conversations with the childcare provider here, Jan Malone. We had conversations with our Kids in Colors presenters here today as well. And we have had continuous conversations with panelists, with focus groups, with one-on-one conversations with our childcare providers that give us that extra insight, that give us that qualitative feel, that give us that understanding of childcare as a childcare worker on the front lines or an early educator. And so those conversations are really, really important to bring our data to life. So with that, move on to our first piece, which is in the state of the child. Now, that QR code is available if you guys can scan it. Can anybody confirm with me if that's actually like scanned? Okay, thank you. So I'll give a second for that to be scanned if you want to follow along with it. I do have page numbers as well attached to the data that I have disseminated here.
Copies of the State of the Child report in the back as well, so we have it in English and in Spanish.
Absolutely, yes, we do have print versions.
check.
Just a moment, and everybody take those pictures. But anyways, when we're talking about the state of the child is specifically the pieces that relate to child care efforts in the Antelope Valley. Now, oops. So there's specific pieces that we disaggregated from the action report. And then within that report, we talked about how there is the first point of limited access. Now, we talk about this a little bit more in detail in childcare deserts conversation, but essentially what corroborated that data piece is that we see that there's no zip code in the Antelope Valley that has sufficient childcare availability. There's not a single zip code in the Antelope Valley, let alone North LA County. And we also have subsidy gaps. And something that's very concerning, and I'll talk about this data with a little bit more detail in the next slide, is how 93% of eligible infants / toddlers and 64% of preschoolers lack access to subsidized child care. And what's concerning about that is that it's not necessarily that they may be outside of the eligibility. It's just that there's also children who are eligible to receive subsidized care that aren't actually accessing it. So moving on to the next point that we have in the State of the Child report is that we identified parental struggles. So 41% of parents report difficulty finding childcare, which is concerning because it's the highest rate within LA County. So LA County is pretty big. There's millions of people, and we're the ones that got stuck with that. So if that doesn't cause concern and it doesn't raise alarm for childcare crisis in the Antelope Valley, I don't know what will. But the next point right here is also financial hardship. 4 in 5 families with children under the age of 6 earn below the real cost of living, making childcare unaffordable. And then the final point is that we have a call to action. So all this didn't come to nothing. There's policy solutions that were outlined, and that basically boils down to we need increased funding, which obviously, higher reimbursement rates for providers, and expanded childcare access. So I'll move on to the next slide with that. As I mentioned with that particularly concerning stat, we have a chart right here, an infographic, that shares the top 6 zip codes in the Antelope Valley that outlines the need for toddlers and preschool age children to access subsidized care. And as you'll see, a lot of these areas aren't even in the most rural areas that you'd expect it to be. Preschoolers is the same thing. So to understand this graph, just know that the data in this is calculated. Well, first I wanted to find the unmet need. The unmet need in this graph that is described refers to the number of children who need early learning programs but are not enrolled due to financial constraints. And this unmet need here in this graph is calculated by subtracting the number of enrolled children from the estimated number of children needing these services. So 93% of all children.
That's a lot.
So we'll move on to our next piece, our next primary data source, which is our childcare desert mapping. So again, as I mentioned, CCRC created this through their research and evaluation department. But to give you a little way to look at this, here's a legend. So does anybody see any green here? Any dark green? Anybody see any light green?
No.
Do we see any yellow? We have one zip code that has adequate childcare access.
Wow.
We have a single zip code that has childcare access. All the rest fall subpar. And so this is what this map provides you when you look at it detail by detail. And again, the zip code or the barcode is provided for you to access this. That total children under 6 are also disseminated in this. Children with both parents in the labor force, children with single mothers in the labor force, poverty rate for children under 6%, workers who leave for work during non-traditional hours, women with children under the age of 6, labor participation, and then demographic data. So when you access this tool, you'll be able to look at your own zip code and see how you fare. Go ahead and scan.
Yellow.
I believe that's 93534.
Wow.
So West Lancaster Avenue J area?
No.
Fort Sill, I believe, is around here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's central.
Yeah, so that's the only zip code that we have. And so when CCRC did this, they disseminated their findings, and I boiled these down right here. So in terms of demographics, so as I was mentioning, you can boil down the demographics and disaggregate that data. Higher concentrations of Latinos, African Americans, and Native Americans live in childcare deserts. And this is within LA County as a whole as well. But poverty rates, the child poverty rate is the highest in childcare deserts, although this does vary by community. For example, Port Hill is considered subpar, but that is considered the most affluent, through the data, most affluent part of the Antelope Valley.
Yeah.
Single parents, more single parents in labor force reside in childcare deserts. And can I ask what that means by anybody? Single parents living in a childcare desert, what does that entail for the care of their child? They don't have access to it. So if they go to work, what options do they have? So more single parents in the labor force reside in these deserts. And you can see how that has effects rolling down the hill to the economy. So the next piece is in rural communities. People who live in rural communities are more likely to live in the childcare desert. And if you'll see here again, there's a lot of red. In those areas, there's none. There's like zero. In other areas, for example, when we look at the unincorporated / Roosevelt area, there's only around like 4 or 5 total, like for this whole area. And if you've driven down those areas, you know it takes forever, and there's only like 4 or 5 available. So rural areas do get impacted by this as well, very much more so. The maternal labor force participation is also disaggregated here. Childcare deserts have low rates of maternal labor force participation, meaning that mom has to stay home. She can't contribute to, the labor force. She can't contribute to the family wallet. She has to stay home. And if you guys live in the same economy I do, I can't see how that's very possible. It's extremely difficult to get by in today's economy that way. And as we see, yeah, the childcare desert has created that need for a mom to stay home, because what other option does she have? Childcare is too expensive for them to access. So subsidies. Children who receive childcare subsidies are more likely to live in the childcare desert, and non-traditional childcare deserts have a higher rate of workers who work non-traditional hours. So that means that it's really difficult for those individuals who live or work in those non-traditional hours, meaning those who work in the night shift don't really have options. But right here is another key piece that goes over the whole of North LA County. There are approximately 50,000 childcare slots for 188,000 children under the age of 6, making it a childcare desert with only 26.6% of children served by the available slots. So that means only a quarter of the children within Northern LA County have access to childcare. There simply isn't enough slots. And when we have conversations with our childcare providers, we're also hearing that they're not able to fill their slots. So there's pressure on both sides. We have the childcare providers who are operating at minimal capacity, and then we have just a lack of slots to begin with. So I see some question in the back. Oh, 5 minutes, my bad. Sorry, guys. I'm like, yes, absolutely.
So I know some of you taking pictures and jotting down a lot of notes, but we will share this whole presentation with you.
All right. So sorry, Kyla. Thank you for the time reminder. But anyways, so we also have another piece of data. This is from childcaredeserts.org. And again, the zip code, the barcode is right there. And we can see more corroborating data that, falls in line with what CCRC reported. As we can see here, that zip code is the only one with access. But if you look at the Antelope Valley as a whole, what does that look like? It's inadequate. You come down to 14, what do you see?
Yeah. Saturation.
A lot of blue.
Yeah.
A lot of blue. And we're seeing that individuals who live here have more access to resources. Individuals who live here are working in a higher median income. But when you come up here to the Antelope Valley, the commuter region, we don't see those same sorts of results. So that, again, for us is cause for concern, and cause for us to have to also not only outreach for the core of the Antelope Valley, but our rural areas as well. But we're going to go on to our data mats, and again, these are available to you in person in the question. So this is just a quick snapshot of this. I also have this, I'm sorry to our Spanish speakers, I have to share this in a second slide. But essentially, this is the quick snapshot of childcare in our data mats. And that goes over again, the childcare deserts that we just went over. And it gives you that map of LA County as a whole. It talks about childcare availability here in Lancaster and Palmdale, respectively. And it also goes over the cost of childcare in Los Angeles County. And so you can see here the cost of enrolling in childcare center, median annual cost is $18,917, and for preschoolers, it's $12,741. In a family childcare home, that reads out to $12,378 and $10,804. Now, there's also data here that is for the county, and this is in response to COVID. I think from 2006 to 2016, we saw like a 30% decrease in family childcare homes operating. We saw another further decrease post-COVID, and that's countywide. And can you imagine how that affects us here in the AB? And on this side right here, you'll also see how we're addressing this. And this is from the fiscal year 22-23. I did want to add a little piece right here. And here I'll actually kind of hold on for a second there. But I wanted to share a piece that just kind of like where we're at right now in terms of our state budget with that. So Governor Newsom has proposed the budget for the 25-26 fiscal year, and that includes $7.2 billion for childcare subsidies. I do believe that when we were at these numbers right here, I think it was at around like 6.5 billion. So here it's at 7.2. Now, of course, this has to go through the legislature. That's going to be finalized, I think, June 15th by midnight. So what's included right now with what the governor has proposed so far, so is rate reform, so increasing payment rates for childcare providers to ensure fair compensation, expanding. That was my presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. So,
No? Oh, okay.
all right, I'll speed along. But yeah, expanding access and quality improvement. And then if you guys want more details on that, you guys can feel free to talk about it with our policy analyst, Carla. One more piece, guys. Our team is kicking me out. I will not yield. But this is the last piece, I promise. So this is insights from our childcare providers. As I mentioned, we had a regional meeting last week in which we talked to this week. Yeah, last week. I'm thinking. But anyways, these are stories and experiences that we got from our childcare providers. This is just in relation to what we asked in terms of like barriers that our childcare providers encountered. We have a quote right here and what they mentioned that their main barriers were. Something that Jan said that really kind of struck me is that she said that when you break down the hours, what we spend out of pocket and what we're compensated, she says she makes $2 an hour off the highest infant rate. We also have Monique Moreno, who also shared that childcare is expensive to run, that paying staff, maintaining a safe environment, meeting license requirements all add up, and finding and keeping quality staff is a challenge because burnout's common in the field. So that's something I see all the childcare providers are like, yup. So that's just like a little snapshot of the conversations that we have and as that qualitative data that corroborates with our quantitative, our numbers. But yeah, so thank you guys. I'm done. Yeah, I'll pass it on to Dave.
David likes to make data sexy. That's what happens.
She does. She said David likes to make data sexy. So first of all, let's give him a hand because this is his life. This is what he does. I'm going to say to you two things. One, I know at least 20 people that have moved to Santa Clarita that work up here, but moved to Santa Clarita because they have childcare down there. And so it's easier for them to live down the hill and come up the hill and work. And it used to be the other way around, right? I know I was one of them that I moved up the hill for the houses and the price, which we no longer benefit from. But anyway, so and then I would work down the hill because you make more money. So now parents are saying, well, you make more money down the hill, but they went to Santa Clarita for childcare and to be able to work up here. That's crazy. We should have it for our own community, right? And so I'm going to say, I know these are what, 2018 numbers, right? But I'm old, folks, and I'm going to tell you that my youngest is 16. This was true for me. I wish I had a child care provider like you ladies in here. Where was Jan? She was still in business. She was in business. I just didn't know her. Where was she when I was trying to find that person to make sure that my kid was okay? Because that's what helps you thrive. That takes you from survive to thrive when you don't have to worry about that kid. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen. Is he going to get home? I need you on the phone so that I can walk with you, or is there after school care, or what? To take that out of your mind, girl, we'd be millionaires. What? Okay. So, so we have a video from one of our daycare providers, Kids in Color, Monique Marino. Hey everyone, so there you go. Zero on point, and we're on our way. Here we are talking about now. And there are a lot of policies. Waiting for ban on talking about the policy. Different salary. Hello, my name is Victoria. I'm be part of the group that we start. I get to see first time to support families and providers. I'm excited to join cause, make a difference, receive for that, and providers. So she would like to, thank you, yeah. She would like to extend her regrets for not being able to be here today. But she is very involved with Best Start. She loves her babies because they are her babies, right? And so that was a great day. I happened to have been at the um, advocacy day, and I have to say, I've been to Sacramento a lot of times because I'm in my day job. I'm a legal consultant. Um, but that was phenomenal. That experience was phenomenal. And it was one that I hope to experience again. But for the first experience, it was so well accepted, you know, and it was like they want your representatives want to help, you know, but if you don't tell them what you need, they don't know what you need, right? So we have to be more involved, not only saying that they need to be more involved with us, but we need to be more involved with them. So that brings us to the gentleman in question. Next, we will have a presentation by Mr. James Moses. He is the Regional Director of Child Care Resource Center and also a lead advocate for ECE Voices. James will be sharing with us the ECE Voices policy priorities. And Mr. James is dedicated to supporting children and families and child care providers in San Bernardino County since 2013. As an ECE Voice lead advocate for Regional 10, he amplifies the voices of every childhood educator and champion equality access to quality care. Recognized for this impact, James received the Local Champion Award from the First Five San Bernardino last year. Please join us in welcoming a true advocate for children, families, and providers, Mr. J. Moses.
Thank you so much. I hope I'm just hitting that arrow. Okay. Well, thank you all for allowing me to be here to share a little bit about ECE Voices with you. My name is James Moses. I am the director of our Office of Strategic Engagement in the Inland Empire region, San Bernardino County, and we're doing a lot more advocacy work in Riverside County now as well. The video was absolutely impressive. You guys took up a lot of advocates on January 21st. So was anybody in the room able to be part of that? Okay, a few people. So you may have met one of my staff members, Jennifer Portillo. She was on that trip representing our region. We lead Region 10, which is Riverside, Inyo, Mono, and San Bernardino County. And she probably did the Carrillo visit. I think I saw her in the video. Did the Carrillo visit, maybe Valadares visit, maybe also Assemblymember Lackey's visit, perhaps, because we share those legislators. I also want to thank David. It was a great presentation that you did about kind of the childcare data. A couple of things I wanted to just kind of comment, and we'll talk about them there. Limited access to childcare and subsidy gaps. Sometimes when folks talk about limited access, they also connect that and think we're also talking about subsidy gaps, but they really are two different things. Limited access is that childcare desert piece. We just don't have enough space for the number of children that need childcare experiences. And then the subsidy gaps are how many children are eligible to a subsidized childcare space but can't access it. So the state average now is one child for every 9 that are eligible. So for every 9 eligible children, only 1 is receiving subsidized help. I would imagine that in parts of the Antelope Valley, just like parts of San Bernardino County, that number is even higher. In San Bernardino County, I know we have zip code areas, Adelanto, for example, where it's more like 1 in 12 eligible children or 1 in 14 eligible children receive care. So those numbers drastically change. And we'll talk a little bit about that as part of ECE Voices and Every Child California priorities. We'll also talk about the unaffordability for families, right? Because we have a dilemma. We have childcare that's unaffordable for families. They can't afford to pay for it. But we also have a situation where we can't afford to pay providers the cost to provide quality care. So it's a dilemma. And we'll move forward with some of the primary priorities. So here you can see in this slide what the priorities are. So I'm gonna run through these pretty quickly, but rate reform is the number one priority. The goal here is to create a new alternative payment methodology, a rate methodology that pays providers based on the cost it requires to provide quality care. Previous to this, or where we're at currently, you're paid on a regional market rate. That regional market rate is from 2018. How many of you have ever filled out a regional market rate survey in years past? Okay, a few of you. So this regional market survey would go out. It would ask you basically how much you charge for childcare, right? Well, how much did you charge? You charged often what the subsidy rate was because you weren't allowed to collect more than that from private pay parents if that was your rate sheet. And then your subsidized parents couldn't afford a cost, like a family fee type cost or a share cost. So it was an inadequate way to determine really what the cost was, and it wasn't truly a regional market. Okay, contract earnings. This says reimbursement based on enrollment instead of attendance. So that is how we're moving forward. We are moving forward asking the governor and the legislature to adopt in the new rate methodology and for this current budget year, contract earnings that will pay providers on enrollment, not attendance. Okay, that's huge. This is similar to the Head Start model. So if you're familiar with the Head Start model, you enroll your kids, and once they're enrolled, you paid for the year as long as they stay enrolled. So if they have illnesses, if they have they go on a field trip with an older sibling, you're still going to get paid because they're enrolled. This is critical because once you enroll a child, you can't enroll another child, right? That space is taken up. And when that child's not there, you need to be paid because you're giving that space up. You can't enroll another child. So this is critical. You're going to see in some of these slides a reference to hold harmless and a connection to reimbursement on enrollment instead of attendance. That's not quite accurate, so I'm going to share what it is, and I'll be here for this entire day with you. So if you have questions afterwards, please just come up and see me, and I'll connect you with that. And then we need more child care spaces. We talked about the subsidy gaps. Prior to the 200,000 commitment that Governor Newsom made, CCRC, who serves all of San Bernardino County, northern Los Angeles County, so the Santa Clarita Valley, all of the Antelope Valley, we had more than 50,000 children on a wait list to receive help through subsidized childcare. When the new funding came out, we were able to offer every child on that list an opportunity to enroll in our subsidized program. The challenge with that is some of those children, now they were older, they're school age, they didn't need care because for years we couldn't enroll. The other challenge is families move quite a bit. So they move, but they didn't tell us they moved, and then we can't get a hold of them. So while we had 50,000 on the list, we probably enrolled 10 to 12,000. Still significant and a blessing for those families. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move. Now, we've enrolled, we've spent that money. So we offered those 50,000 enrollment back in 2023. We cleared out our list. How many kids do you think we might have on a waiting list right now? Anybody want to just take a guess?
Probably the same amount.
Nearly, not quite, but about 60% of that. It's over 30,000. So just in 2 years, over 30,000 children and their families have come to us looking for help with childcare. We have to put them on an enrollment or wait list. So this is more about the alternative cost. And I kind of explained what's in here already is that we were paying based on a regional market rate, not the true cost of care. And so that's what this describes. Has stuff in it that many of our workforce are women. They're women of color. They live in those same areas that David talked about where there's a lot of families eligible for child care subsidies. A lot of our child care providers are eligible for child care subsidies. A lot of the teachers in our centers and even some of our family child care providers, after all their expenses, are eligible for our programs. I think you saw both the ladies that had quotes up there that were, and I apologize if ladies, I know that's offensive sometimes. I apologize, but that's how I was raised. The women that were up there, both of them talked about the cost it requires to operate a childcare program, right? So it's very expensive to operate a program. And so when they're done with all their expenses, the profit's not always great. And we talked about parents not being able to afford to pay for care. So the request really is to pay the cost that it truly requires a childcare provider to provide high quality care for the children in their care, which many already do that, and that's why they do it sometimes at a loss. So rate reform, we've been talking about this. This is a timeline. What I will tell you is that the timeline is already off. We're not going to meet this timeline. So if you kind of look at the timeline, we were supposed to have something in place by July 1, 2025. At least right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I will say that we have members of our legislature that are passionate to ensure that it does. But what we're hearing from folks is we're not likely to get there. So we're likely to see, and David talked about the budget. The budget, there's no new money for childcare in that budget. That $7.2 billion, while it's an increase from last year, the reason that there's an increase is we've now enrolled more kids, and we're also paying that 2008 higher regional market rate than we were in years past, and we're providing cost of care plus payments. So hopefully all of you are receiving cost of care plus payments. Okay, good. So basically that increase is just to cover those additional costs for those additional children that have already been enrolled. There's no new funding to enroll additional children at this time. But this gives you the timeline. What I will say is there is a committee dedicated to working on this, a rate and quality work group committee. So the work is continuing, it's moving through, but I think the dates you see here might be a little off. I think that was the hope, but I think we may see ourselves have to backpedal a little bit. And this gives you a little bit of just a snapshot. And I think, Carla, this slide will be made available to everybody. I see some people taking pictures, but if you don't have it, all of these slides will be made available to you. You'll be able to get that, or I can get it to you as well. So this graphic just shows what I've already talked about. It talks about the market rate approach, which is what we have been using for many, many years, and then moving to a cost model based approach, which will really take a look at what it costs to provide quality care. And especially as we've seen transitional kindergarten become a little more effective, what we've seen is more and more 4-year-olds leaving private childcare centers, family childcare homes. State preschool has adjusted to that. They are now serving more 3-year-olds. So you may even see some of your 3-year-olds moving into school district, large nonprofit state preschool programs. Head Start still operates and serves the lowest income, but a lot of Head Start, we haven't done a lot of this. CCRC is I think maybe the only Head Start agency up here in the Antelope Valley, but even us, we've transitioned some of our spaces to early Head Start because we're losing 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds as well. So as you see that shift by Head Start and state preschool, that's taking more of your 3-year-olds and probably even some of your birth to 3 at times, and making it difficult. So if you adapt as private center-based providers and family childcare, if you adapt to serve infants and toddlers, what goes up immediately? Anybody tell me what goes up immediately once you try to serve infants and toddlers versus 4-year-olds? Your cost goes up. Why does it go up? Now I need diapers. I may need to provide formula. I need wipes. I need cribs in the classroom or in my family childcare. Yeah, I was going to save that for last, but I'm glad you brought it up. Ratios is the biggest factor, right? If you're a family childcare provider, once you start serving children, infants and toddlers, well, now you're limited in the total number of kids you can serve. So now you can't earn your full potential. If you're in a child care center, if you have infants 1 to 3, right? Toddlers 1 to 4, actually 1 to 4 for both, right? Unless you're state or federally funded, then it's 1 to 3. But if you're private under Title 22, it's 1 to 4. But the cost of infant toddler care is significant. So this is where I talked about, this could be a little bit misleading. So hold harmless. Is anyone in the room a state-funded program that receives money directly from CESS, Department of Social Services, or the Department of Education? Okay, so I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but essentially those programs during COVID, we did initiate what we call hold harmless. What that did for direct funded programs is it paid them the lesser of their full contract amount or their actual expenditures, whichever were less. So that meant that as children in those times when it was hard and children weren't coming back, they were still receiving their full contract. So they could keep staff employed, they could continue upgrading equipment, materials as they needed to. For all of you, which I'm assuming all of you are receiving vouchers as well as private pay, but are all of you receiving vouchers from CCRC? Okay, I see heads nodding. So in the voucher program, what hold harmless really meant was we were able to pay you the highest scheduled hours for every child. So if a parent had a flexible schedule and they could work, let's say 32 to 40 hours every week, well, then we could pay you for the maximum of those 40 hours, which in that scenario wasn't a big deal because anything over 30 was full-time anyway, right? And now I think it's shifted. Anything over 25 is full-time. How much? No, I think anything over 25 is full-time now. Anything over 25 is full-time now. So, but let's say a parent has a schedule that varies between 22 hours and 28 hours. Now, right now, through Hold Harmless, we create a schedule for 28 hours. So you get a full-time rate. When we move back to, if we don't have Hold Harmless, then if that parent only shows up for 22 hours, you're going to get a part-time rate that week. Or if they show up for less than 22 and they don't have excused absences, that gets complicated. You may even see less, right? So what we're moving forward with a request to pay providers on enrollment, not attendance. What that would mean is if a parent's schedule says that they work 32 hours a week, we're going to pay you 32 hours a week, which for most of you, depending on how your rate sheet is listed, will be a full-time weekly rate. And if they only show up 24 hours because of an illness, or like I said, going with the family to an older child's field trip or something, you're still going to receive the full-time rate, which is appropriate because as a private pay, when my kids were little, so they're grown now, I have, 2 adult boys and 2 new daughters and finally a grandkid. Took a long time, but I finally became a grandpa. But we had to pay, right? As a private pay, my provider expected us to pay that amount every week. It didn't matter if we didn't bring our kids or not, we had to pay it. And on the subsidized side, it doesn't quite work that way. So that's what we're trying to change, is that when you enroll a child in your private program, you're going to get paid whether that child comes or not. That aligns with the practice you already have in place, most of you probably, for private pay parents. So this just goes into a bill that was introduced last session to do what they're now calling hold harmless but enrollment versus attendance. That bill didn't make it through last year, or it made it through the legislature, but the governor vetoed. So that bill may come back again this year. The reason the governor vetoed it was he stated that we're going to take this up in the new alternative rate methodology work. So it'll be addressed there. I don't need to put it in the budget or pass the bill. So this is a little bit more about extending hold harmless contracts issues. Um, we're starting to see a little bit of an uptick, and I think your slide showed that, but we're starting to see new providers come into the space. A few more new family child care providers, some centers opening more classrooms. So we are starting to see an uptick. But if we can't ensure that we're paying at the cost of quality care, if we cannot ensure that we're subsidizing those rates at the cost of providing quality care, we're going to struggle and we're going to see programs close. The other thing I want to just add to this, it's not one of the priorities, but teacher shortages. If you run a child care center, do you guys have any problems? I know the two at my table. Are you having problems finding qualified teachers? So qualified teachers is a huge problem right now. We're working with several legislators to pass bills to solidify the permits, the child development permits. So especially in state funded, but even in private funded, they can go make $25 at a hospital. They can make $20 in a fast food restaurant. So our teacher shortage is also inhibiting us from serving as many children and families who need the services. So slot releases, I'm going to walk through this quickly. Governor gave us 206,800 slots. He initially committed to 145,000, give or take. We filled about 119,000 slots. That's about where we sit now. Numbers vary. You'll hear some people say 119, you'll hear 126. I don't think it's clear. The money was put in, but the slots aren't necessarily all filled yet. So we think we're right around 119,000. And what he's done kind of is kick the can down the road, and he is guaranteeing that he will fund these slots by 27, 28. So we are asking for that to be implemented now because we have wait lists like ours, but the commitment is 27, 28. That's just more on the slot release. I think everything you'll read in there I've covered. And this goes through Senate budget chairs. So I would say, we focus with Akila Weber. She is the budget subcommittee lead over the budget subcommittee that hears our issues. In the assembly, we work with Dr. Corey Jackson and with David Alvarez. Corey Jackson is from Riverside. He is incredible. He used to sit on our Inland Empire Children's Cabinet with me, and he is very passionate about our issues. And he is chairing Health and Human Services budget, or actually just Human Services now. So he sees all of our issues in the budget and is very supportive. So I don't think we have time for Q&A right now, but like I said, I will be here till we end. You feel free to come up and see me, and I will answer any questions I can, and I'll go get answers if I don't have them. But thank you all. I appreciate you giving up your time to be here.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we have come, first of all, let's thank Mr. Moses again for having come and explained much for us. I want someone to ask him about the bridge that we heard about at CCRC's conference, so he can explain to us the difference between what he showed us and what they said that they have with that bridge. Okay, so I was just giving somebody a really good question to ask. So we have come to the meet and greet round one. How we are going to do this is there. Each representative has a table.
Yeah.
Yes. So each representative has a table. So we're going to ask those that are sitting, those legislators that are sitting, or local offices that are sitting at the same table. I'm going to ask one of you to move to another table. So Miss Anna, will you? Chuck, thank you so much, kind sir.
Always the gentleman.
Always the gentleman. He absolutely is. He absolutely is. Where are my other?
They're not here.
They're not here yet. Okay, so we're going to do round one with Mr. Chuck and Miss Anna. And I'm going to ask for, I think we have, 4 seats available with Miss Anna. And we've got another 1 or 2 seats that can be over here with Mr. Chuck. And we'll do And we've got Mr. James here. We've got another 1 or 2 seats that we can put here with Mr. James. So I'm gonna ask you ladies, and there's all ladies. And so I was just doing a spot check to pick your areas so that we can have our meet and greet round 1. So we've got Miss Anna, Mr. Chuck, and Mr. Moses. Yeah, hold on. So, yeah, so we do have prompting questions up here. Take a moment to introduce yourself first. And to spark the conversation, we do have some questions that we can go along with.
So, what is that?
We also provide most parents who provide we have funding to ensure that the funds are regular for so, whoever has the so all of this so we need to find out why. So there's three components to the rule. One is that the second part, we are now. Like to understand where the gaps are so that I can get back to that. Yes.
We're gonna wrap up our meet and greet first round in about 5 to 6 minutes. So let's wrap up our questions for our current meet and greet.
So Jim is one of the policy. He's the outreach manager. I think she's quite a bit of. So like I work a lot. You know, I think we also work with the president of Noel Festival to support that. Bargaining. One of the challenges we went through is that CCU is a bargaining for child side. Right, so what happens is considerably because our rate system is centralized in the child system, right? But and so you guys never do, but like you know that because don't get like this. But when you enter that market, so sometimes what you're going to do is this is rare. So occasionally there is a little bit of a lab, and we have to work that out in the conversation. But we think we do. Okay, reach out to the broad field. It's okay, for their sharing. Our freshman doctor has a really great relationship with them. It's been a lot. State budget hearings,
So there is a part, but it's not hard. The governor, they just let them- they talk about race, what the bar- talk about cinema. I can't talk about this all the time, the barbecue. So, we are aware of the. Really, they were understanding the governor. But it's a problem. But.
Yeah, we're getting these. And is that?
Pre-proposed. Break. All of you kids that have already. A lot of us. Governor's credit, he has prioritized. Thanks, Chuck.
Ladies, we are going to be ending round one. So what I'm going to do here, let me show you your. Yeah. Fun, right? This is great networking. But we are going to end this round so that we can switch to a different table with a different representative and have that next conversation. And we also have Thomas here from Senator Valdera's office. I saw him. There he is. There he is. So he is going to have, we're going to give Thomas a table. Okay. So ladies, we're going to let the office or the members sit and we're going to switch. So again, hi. um, We have Assemblyman Lackey. We have Los Angeles County, Mr. Chuck here, Boswick, and we have now Senator Valadares. Office is going to be right here. And then we still have Mr. Moses here from CCRC. So I'm going to ask you to switch, please. So, yeah, do I can. So you have two? Okay. Yeah, yeah. I. So, my Espanol people, can I ask you, for the purposes of interpretation, will you please sit at either Assemblyman Lackey or Senator Valderas, so that you can have an interpreter, because we only have two. And so they're asking so that they can do the adequate job. If you will sit at the two members' desks that tables that I just indicated. Gracias. Senator, how are you?
What's happening in school. And then, there's some leading questions and then. You guys pulled her back.
What challenges do you guys face within childcare and so on? So I have my fiance teaches special needs children from kindergarten to third grade. She comes to me with a lot of stuff as well. That's something that's close to me. And I know it's something that's close with the senator over there as well. Because her whole, she's the executive director of the program called Autism Speaks. Autism Speaks. And so she's just something that's very near to her as well. Something that she's done constantly for the last 15 years. So I know that's something that she's focused on. Definitely so. And they don't get, especially in the northern Los Angeles County, we don't get the resources that we need.
Those things.
So we'll go around. So what do you think is the biggest challenge with childcare in China? Going around is the biggest challenge. Issue is now for childcare. Like I said, Maria is, it's something that's we have to forefront. I think the next 4 years. I think, they're practical. And there are statewide, there aren't any programs provided with the state. So you're gonna have a lot of the state will set the standards so that it's really as long as it's relevant. You feel like there'd be more impact if you had more workshops and so this would be the same. Especially if you want to talk to different people. Talking about.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of round two. And I see there are some serious conversations going on. I'm going to give you 3 more minutes, but you're going to promise me that you're wrapping it up. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 more minutes, and you're promising me you'll wrap it up.
See a lot of winking going on. Expect her that when she's still like, oh, that's right to your head. That's all right, I'm not here really good.
Hablando sobre por qué es el Yes, claro. Gracias.
Work with me. So what we're going to do is if I can have your attention so I can do my closing remarks. I don't think that our members are going to. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Okay. So I'll let everybody get to their, yes, ma'am. Okay. So was that great? Did you find out information? Did you give information? Yeah? So I just want to hold your attention for one more second. This was us answering the fact that we heard the landscape of our child care in our community, what's working, where we're struggling, and the urgent need we must address. We also discussed policy priorities that help strengthen our early care and education system. I promise you, we're not going to make you leave. Can I have your attention 1 second? If you can hear me, there's food after I finish. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Okay, let me finish my job. We've discussed policy priorities that can help strengthen our early child care and education system, ensuring that providers have the support that they need and families that they have access to quality care. It's been inspiring to hear so many rich discussions and connections forming in this room. The conversations are critical step towards collective action. Now we've started the important conversation. Let's keep the momentum going. Here are a few ways to continue to engage. For our child care providers, share your experiences with policymakers. Stay informed about upcoming advocacy efforts. Consider joining ECE Voices and Best Start AV. Show up when you see that Assemblyman Lackey is having a meet and greet. Go. Make him remember the fact. I know I'm picking on you, but I love you. Yes? Okay, so make him remember you met me at Best Start at the meet and greet, ECE meet and greet. I'm the one that said this. He'll remember. Continue the conversation. For our representative and policymakers, continue engaging with providers and families. Advocate for policies that strengthen childcare and work alongside community partners. For our community members and parents, raise awareness, connect with decision makers, and support efforts that ensure quality early education for all children. We got to do the work. This is not a one-time situation. It's not going to change tomorrow. We got to do the work, and you have to be consistent. You have to be deliberate. You have to be consistent, and you have to keep pressing. Right. We will be following up with additional resources, opportunities to get involved, and ways that we can continue to work together. We will also be sending out a survey via email. If you would please fill that out and give us your feedback to this event and for future events. Where's Carla?
Thank you so much, Ms. Day. I do want to give a big shout out to the Best Start Antelope Valley Policy Committee for putting together the event. Ms. Day, our policy chair, our amazing community members. This was all put together by community members who are saying, we are here to support our child care providers. This is a collective effort. This is the AV organizing to see the change we want to see to support our youngest residents. With that in mind, I also want to thank the representatives who are here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and support and hear our child care providers directly from them, because it's one thing for the community to make their way up to Sacramento to back them up and say, hey, we are here to support our childcare providers. But it's a whole nother thing to actually hear it directly from them because they are on the ground working with families, working with the children. Somebody was sharing, they're not just childcare providers, they're also a therapist for families. They're doing a lot. So childcare providers, please know that both Best Start AV and our local representatives are here to support you. Let's keep the conversation going. We invite you to join Best Start. We meet every third Thursday and every third Tuesday. Tuesdays online, Thursdays in person here. But we have all this information in the back. I know our representatives, they're gonna have to take off in a little bit because it's, Saturdays are busy days. I know, Thomas, thank you so much for making your way over here. So if you have some time to maybe just grab a snapshot with them, but we will have an hour of mingling for networking for childcare providers. Please get to know our resources in the community. We want to make sure that we are intentional in connecting you to the resources that are available in the AV because the AV is a treasure. It has so much to offer. One of the biggest challenges has continued to be connecting families to the resources. So here in Best Start AV, we believe that we have the power to make those connections. I invite you to stay involved. Again, if you can go on to the next slide, we do have an ECE Voices a table. So for those who would like to join ECE Voices, you can do so. The QR code is up in the front as well, in the back, I'm sorry. And then if you go on to the next slide, again, Best Start AV, we are mobilizing, we are organizing, we are here to support our childcare educators. Thank you so much for joining us.
I have an ask. So I know that Best Start staff were kind of walking around and some of our welcome committee was walking around and kind of eavesdropping on your conversations. But it would be so awesome for policymakers, Assemblyman Lackey, reach out to one of us. Let us know how we can help you help them, right? Because we do more together than we do separately. We have to support them while they're trying to support you. Does that make sense? Okay. Thank you, guys. Yes, yes.
The assembly has to go to bed, but can I have everybody just kind of huddle over here so I can take a picture? I'm just gonna have some time.
Person, within the way.
Get that chair. This will break, yeah. There you go. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Don't everybody have a bother yesterday. Beautiful. Oh,
All right, bye.
One more.
We thank you.
Back to the meeting. We have it on.
Right here in the Antelope. Our table, we have a huge event on a training titled Equitable Learning Environment for Childcare Providers. You can register. This is funded by CDSS and being provided by Wested. So please make sure that you guys connect with our Best Start table in the back. AVPH is also here sharing information on the different services that they offer to support families and children. And we have regional centers here who's going to share a little bit more about what they're offering today.
Hi, so I did talk to some of the providers. I'm Cynthia Sanchez. I'm the Parent and Family Support Specialist for North LA County Regional Center. And I just wanted to offer if any provider, home-based, center-based, want us to come in and do a presentation about what we offer, kind of supports. I know we have a lot of parents that have concerns of their child's development and they want to know what can the regional center offer, what kind of programs. We have amazing social rec. We do speech therapy for the 0 to 3, after 3. All our evaluations are free. So just if you want to get my information or Sandy's, we would love to come to your centers and do presentations for your families. We could do virtual, whatever you guys want us to do, to be able to connect with the families and make sure that their kids are getting the services and the support that they need. So thank you so much.
Gracias. Bueno, ahora es mi turno. Mi nombre es Sandy, yo trabajo para el Centro Regional. Estoy aquí para conectar con todos los proveedores de cuidado infantil. Si alguna vez necesitan que nosotros vayamos a su centro, a su casa o a su centro para hablar con los padres o madres que tengan sus hijos y quieren más información de qué es el Centro Regional, qué servicios proveemos, qué apoyos tenemos. Y también para informarles sobre las evaluaciones de las etapas del desarrollo. Si tienen alguna preocupación de los niños, nosotros podemos ir a hablar con los papás. Podemos ir en persona, podemos ir virtuales y tenemos la presentación disponible en inglés, español, farsi, tagalog, armenian, en cualquier lenguaje que sus familiares hablan. Nosotros estamos ahí para proveer esa conexión. Gracias.